Okay, I think we're live. Okay, I think we're live. Yes, we are. Okay, so this is basically test stream 0.0. So I'm not necessarily expecting this to work 100%. If it does, great. If it doesn't, I'm chalking it up to experience. Oh, we have notification that it's working. That's a good start. So thanks for that. Yeah, I haven't ever tried doing like an actual live stream on YouTube, so I thought I would try it out now. I should probably be going to bed, but when it's like late at night and you think, that's when you sort of you get those creative ideas and that inspiration, and you start thinking, oh, I could do this, I could do that, and you just feel like, yeah, all right, let's see how this live streaming stuff actually works. Okay, so far we have one error. Apparently, YouTube is not receiving enough video information to maintain smooth streaming. What does that say? As such, view ... Be experiencing buffering. Okay, I don't know if that's something that I have to worry about, or whether that's like normal when it comes to YouTube streams. If anyone is not experiencing the little round buffer thing and is actually watching this without delay, let me know. It was weird though, because it just come up on the screen just now saying excellent signal strength. So I'm assuming that this is actually all working okay, but there is a popping up. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, if it's normal, that's all good. So I don't really have any topics I want to talk about here. This is literally just a test. I didn't even expect to have any viewers come online at this point, but it's always a good thing just to know that it's working and stuff, so that I suppose even if this is like a test stream, this isn't going to stay on the internet forever. At least I know for sort of the next time or next times moving forward that it's okay even if we have this yellow banner popping up on the screen to say that actually it's not working. But yeah, the thing in the background that is going on right now, you might see that I have my hands up. Yeah, I'm still apparently creating artwork. It's not using my amazing psychic power art techniques. It's actually because this is like an old recording that I made ages ago, and I just wanted to test what it would look like if I had some artwork basically running in the background. So I'm kind of cheating a little bit here. Um, so yeah, at least it gives something to potentially look at while I'm just staring at my other screen, trying to figure out the ins and outs of all this kind of stuff. So ambient roads, how's it going? What are you doing? Due to YouTube at this time of the day, I don't know what time it is where you are. It's getting towards midnight here in the UK. Yeah, I'm also just flicking back between this and Instagram. I had someone that watched one of my older videos, and they messaged me recently on Instagram rather than YouTube. I think some people just want a private chat rather than make it all public. And they were basically trying to give me some advice on my YouTube videos, how to make them better, things I should be thinking about. So I'm kind of going backwards and forwards with them at the same time, just seeing what they're saying about what I'm doing, what I'm doing wrong. And it's all good though. I really appreciate the feedback. That's what it's all about. Um, because it's a weird thing when you're starting a YouTube channel, or even if you've been like me and you've been doing a YouTube channel for Well, technically, I've been taking it more seriously for about 8 or 9 months now. But yeah, like I still don't know what I'm doing. I never know what I'm doing. I don't think anyone ever knows what they're doing with anything, really, if you think about it. Uh, like I'm supposed to be an artist, but like any artist will just tell you that they never feel as though they've finished. It's not like uh, it's not like learning to type, or learning to drive a car. Once you do it, you know that you can either do it or you can't. It's a never-ending journey of carrying on and trying to improve and stuff. So yeah, okay, 4 p.m. USA. That's cool. Uh, yeah, that's the thing. I suppose me streaming at pretty much close to midnight UK time means it's going to be a lot of American users on at this time of the day. Okay, so you said SEO. Yeah, exactly. It is all about SEO. It's a weird thing when I think most people, just the average person, when they set up a YouTube channel or any social media, the idea for them, I think, is that they'll be able to just build it and the people will come. It seems pretty obvious. Everyone just puts up information, puts up content on the internet, and then followers start to come, and then you sort of learn it's a bit harder than that. You need to be consistent with it. You need to keep posting. Then you need to improve quality and stuff like that. And even the low levels of quality on like a video series like mine, even that sort of takes time and effort just to get something up that isn't complete garbage. Um, and yeah, okay, if you've got 3 to 4 YouTube channels, you would know that. So I guess they're all on different topics, are they? Is it just a case of too many interests and trying to sort of split them all up? I mean, I've got a second channel as well that I created, and part of the reason I did that was because, firstly, it was different content. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't kind of cross polluting in different audience pools, or however you want to say it. So I thought, okay, let's just devote the channel that I'm streaming at the moment to art and design, and basically talking about the struggles there within. And then the other channel was more just personal vlogging and stuff like that. And it gave me a chance to just say stuff which I just didn't feel was necessarily appropriate for this channel. But yeah, gonna be okay, bro. Appreciate it. That's the sort of vote of confidence I think I need. It's one of these things where I think naturally I'm quite a pessimistic, skeptical kind of person, and my default when approaching anything is I'm going to fail at this. That's just the way I roll. But I like it that way because if I don't have super high expectations, then I don't feel like a complete failure when I inevitably fall flat on my butt and it doesn't succeed. But I think it's one of those things where you just have to work with what you've got, really. If you're very confident and you can use that confidence to help drive you forward, that's great. If you're someone who's a bit more skeptical and a bit more, I don't know, you sort of consider your choices a bit more. You're a bit more careful about things. Not a risk taker, basically. Then, well, you just got to find your own approach through life, really, and that can have its benefits as well, really. So yeah, okay. You're saying I should work the SEO. I mean, are we talking specific to YouTube? Are we talking the sort of descriptions or the titles of the videos? So I've got this other person, like I said, in this other window, and they were basically telling me that I think the content's all right. Your problem is with your thumbnails. I'm not necessarily disagreeing, but yeah, I mean, there's just so many things that could always kind of constantly be tweaked, I suppose. Um, yeah, I mean, I was actually watching a video today. It was. I think this is the thing. You might experience it yourself. Once you started doing the YouTube journey, you get to a point where you start looking into, okay, well, how how can I be better at this? How can I get more views? How can I succeed? And then you inevitably start searching for, how can I get more views on YouTube? Or I don't know if I have that, but I seem to get video recommendations from places like the vidIQ channel, where they're basically talking about YouTube and small creators and trying to give a bit of motivation, a bit of encouragement, and a few basic tips on what to do. And I watch this other guy who typically gets 1 to 2 million or more views on a video. So whatever he's doing, so far as gaining the views goes, he's obviously killing it. And he was going through I don't know if it was just the SEO, but he was basically saying about what to do when you upload a video, the things to click on throughout the whole sort of process, like, that the bit on the back end where you basically, you write your title, then you write your description, then you write whether it's a video made for kids, or if you're scheduling it, or if you're putting it up live. And there's a little bit in there that I thought, oh, okay, I didn't quite necessarily think about that as a factor when considering, if something's worth doing. In fact, this guy, I can't remember his name now, but he was saying about like the tags, the YouTube lets you have, I think about 60 tags or 500 characters worth of tags on the sort of back end when you upload your videos. And he was basically saying, yes, I fill out that field with my tags for my videos, because if it's there it might be doing something, but ultimately he felt like it was pretty pointless, and if you didn't fill it out, it doesn't really matter, because that's not what people are looking for. And yeah, he was saying, as far as the titles goes, which you might agree with, you got two choices when it comes to a YouTube video. You either what do? You either optimize for search, so that I think is probably what you're saying more, where you're trying to get the things that people might search for. So if I'm doing an artwork related video, it might be how to get more subscribers as an artist, or how do artists build an audience, that kind of thing. Although, that's it's debatable whether I should ever actually be giving advice on that kind of topic. But the other path, if you're not kind of going down the search path, is just literally going for the sort of emotional trigger, the sort of communicative, emotional, click, that like you're hoping that your video will be shown on the sort of homepage, the browsing page, and then the idea is for people to just see it and feel like, I feel emotionally compelled to click that. It might be like a video, in my case, would be like, I created this artwork and it was a complete disaster. Obviously no one's going to be searching for, I created this artwork and it was a complete disaster. But so far as the sort of emotional hook or whatever goes, that's kind of the gist of it. Seems really easy, doesn't it? When you say it out loud, you just think, oh yeah, you just wing it. You just say what's on your mind. You say what, sort of make it up. But yeah, I haven't really figured it out. I haven't really figured out the how to do the best titles and stuff, and the descriptions. That's something I'm currently using ChatGPT to help me with. So this isn't necessarily something that someone's taught me, but I realised that I could go to the video. I can get a video transcript of the stuff I've been talking about via YouTube after I've uploaded it, throw that to ChatGPT, and then say, okay, I want you to write a 500 description based on what I've been talking about in the titles, in the video. And then it comes back with a description. I mean, it's better than nothing. I haven't, there's probably ways whereby you optimize the first line, because that's the line people obviously see when they click a video, if they were to then see, start reading the description. So there's probably ways to sort of optimize like a little mini hook at the start, and then maybe like a little link or something next, before you sort of need to get users to click the three dots to expand the website's the web video's description. But that's what I'm doing. I don't know. But the funny thing is with YouTube videos, while I'm talking about it still, is the fact that I was chatting to another person that watched one of my videos, and again, like yourself, they're trying to help, and I really appreciate it. And yeah, they were basically telling me, in fact, I've had a couple of people tell me this, that YouTube puts your videos into these kind of like buckets whereby, you know, you're tested out as a creator, and if your content is, you know, clickable and watchable, then it will sort of rank you up into the next bucket and share your videos with more people. And then over time, you're sort of placed in a sort of like it's like a tier list. They call I mean, I was told it's called buckets. I don't know if that's true, but yeah, it's like a sort of a tier or a sort of system whereby, you know, like a ranking. Someone like me, I'm in like at this point like a quite a low ranking. So YouTube would generally share my videos with, you know, 1 to 2,000 people. I'll get 1 to 2,000 impressions on a video typically, and it might not be shared with the most optimal people or something like that. You know, it'll just be shared with like a load of rando people, and something will come of it if it does. If not, then that's that. But then I think videos that once they start to get the ball rolling, their videos will get shared with, you know, 20,000 people typically. And I think this is why you can see some videos like every time they put out a video, no matter whether they improve it, no matter if it's on a different subject matter, no matter what they kind of do to it, they're always limited to this sort of set number of views. You know, it might be up to around sort of 200 views, or it might be up to 2,000 views, it might be up to 2 million views. And partly that's to do with subscribers, and obviously they help building up those view counts. But yeah, I mean, the people I was talking to were saying that this is like a little secret thing that YouTube don't really want you to know when it comes to sort of promoting videos, that there are these kind of hidden tiers that you sort of exist within. And it almost doesn't matter how good the content is. If you're someone who, you know, maybe over the course of your last 5 or 6 videos, YouTube has determined that you're of a low quality tier, you know, it'll put you in the F rank bracket, and that's where you stay. You'll never be able to kind of not perhaps not never, but it's going to be difficult for you to kind of rank up to sort of D rank or C rank, if that makes sense. You know, you're very much restricted and you're held back. Your content is effectively being throttled by the algorithm, and it can be quite difficult to kind of level up into the next bracket. And it might, perhaps it's just a case of doing like 3 high quality, almost viral videos back to back, where the sort of signal that you're sending YouTube is so strong that they're like, right, okay, whatever this person's doing, it must be good. I think we maybe need to take them out of the sort of 2,000 impressions tier, therefore getting, you know, let's just say they get, you know, a couple of hundred views on a video, and, you know, we'll start putting them in the higher tiers from now on, and they can, from this point forward, more likely see, you know, 2,000 views typically per video, stuff like that. So they want to make sure. Oh, okay, message retracted. Didn't quite catch that. But I think the gist you might have, what you was going to say was YouTube wants to make sure the content's good before they push it. And yeah, I get that, because it's one of these things as well where I think it's good that YouTube basically wants to put training wheels on creators to make sure that they're committed to, you know, furthering the quality of YouTube as a platform. You know, it's obviously within YouTube's interest to want to, you know, sustain a high quality. And, you know, there's so many creators out there now, you know, so much content being uploaded to the internet. It needs to somehow vet it and keep the quality high. So I don't think it's a bad thing. I think the trouble comes when you're trying to improve what you do, but you don't get that signal back from, I guess, the algorithm to show that what you're doing is better. So, for example, let's say I'm in the F rank tier. You know, I'm in the low end bucket. There's not much I can really do, even if I improve upon my old videos and make the next ones better, I'm still always going to get under 200 views typically per video, over the first month or so. And I think that is the thing that gets frustrating. It kind of feels like you're not playing a fair sort of game, because when it comes to videos, quality is kind of a subjective. It's kind of a subjective metric, I think, because you must have seen so many videos like myself where it's filmed in someone's car on a mobile phone screen, with a crappy mobile phone, cell phone mic, and they're just, it's someone just talking about, some soup that they ate for lunch that day, and how they were disappointed because it said it was chicken soup, but it didn't actually have any chicken in it or something. I don't know. And you just think, how the hell did this get 300,000 views and 20,000 likes or whatever? And obviously there is a reason for it. It might just be the fact that it's real and genuine, and in a sea of highly produced, high stakes, high quality video content, sometimes just because you want a bit of novelty, you want a bit of realism, you want to be connected back to the real world. When someone's just talking about the soup they had for lunch, it's like, right, okay, this is actually good. I needed to hear this. I needed to know that I'm not living in this weird futuristic YouTube dystopia where everyone is just living a flashy, glossy lifestyle that's just disconnected with what I see when I actually leave my house and walk out into the street. So so even the kind of, on the one sense, the objectively bad videos are good, to the right audience at the right time. There's, what is good, what is bad. It does get quite difficult to decide where to draw those boundaries, really. I think sometimes with some people it's very obvious. You can see a rush job. It's like I know a rush job when I see one. When someone has not really put in the effort, and it very much is what for example, it could be the whole soup thing, but I don't know, maybe it's just not interesting. Maybe sometimes as well, when you got someone that's putting in a lot of effort, but it's kind of like low grade effort, and it would, there are probably videos, or there's probably content in the world where if you just didn't try hard, it would have been better. But the fact that you're trying to do something, and despite the effort, it still looks crap, that is probably the problem. So I suppose with a YouTube video, it'd be the case of like a thumbnail or something, whereby you see a thumbnail pop up on YouTube, and it's it's like a Comic Sans font, the stereotypical low quality, inconsidered, typography font style, and it's in bright yellow, and it's on a white background, so it doesn't show up very well. The person hasn't really considered the composition of the text, or the style of the text, and how that interacts with the video. I'm not necessarily a graphic design expert, but I know how to create pretty pictures at least. So and I know how to use Photoshop pretty well. So I can tell people that don't. And I think those types of videos where it's like, I don't know, you've got this tiny little text bit of yellow text in the corner of a thumbnail that I can't really read. It's cluttering up the thumbnail, the message, and simply taking a big picture of their face. There would have been a better way to do it, something much simpler. So yeah, I think that's an example of something on YouTube where you can see the effort, but it's the wrong type of effort, if that makes sense. I don't know. It's late. I'm talking shit now, really. So yeah. Well, anyway, I might just leave it here. I know this is probably short in terms of live stream standards, but I just wanted to test that this works, and I'm going to end the stream, see if it uploads to YouTube okay, and then next time I'm going to come back with something a little bit more, hopefully, considered. I mean, one thing I thought, because I basically started building up a list of similar channels to mine, or at least similar videos to the ones that I tend to put out, whereby people are talking about how to be successful as an artist. And I've kind of gone through a few of these before, and I've uploaded a few sort of reactions, I suppose you could call them, to my channel. And I thought maybe do that on a live stream, and then just discuss what I'm thinking. I think as well, because trouble is when you're reacting to an existing piece of content, the videos can get quite big and quite drawn out, because obviously you've got their content, which could be like 20 minutes, and then you've got your reaction to that content, or your discussion about that content, and you can end up spending an hour just talking about one 10-minute video, for example. But I think that would be quite good, because I want to go through these videos. I want to see what other people are saying, and I think it would be useful to people for me to give my 2 cents on this kind of thing. That would be like a live stream that I think people could like retroactively watch and get something out of, if they could be bothered, or just even if they stick it in like ×2 speed and rush through it. Because I think a lot of people talk about the thing to do, how to make money as an artist, and I think half of it is just complete bullshit. And I know that half of it's complete bullshit, because unlike 90+% of artists, I've actually tried a lot of stuff, and I've succeeded with a lot of stuff, but I've also failed with a lot of stuff. So I've got, I've sort of built up years of experience of trying stuff out, and I can kind of tell the difference between good advice, bad advice, and some of it I just want to call out, basically, or some of it I want to learn from as well. Maybe there are things out there that I haven't thought of, that I haven't tried, that I can learn from, and I can say, sounds like a good idea, and anyone else sort of following along for the ride could get something out of that as well. But that's the thing. I mean, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what your channels are about, Ambient Roads, but I think I clicked. I think because you've responded to one of my videos before. I think I clicked on your channel. I think it was. Do you do music stuff? Maybe not. Might be someone else. Sorry about that if I can't remember. But yeah, I think it's like this. Just talking about YouTube in general, I think is a very universal topic. It's not, if you don't happen to be into art, anyone could join in, give their 2 cents, and it's always good feedback, especially people that have got like yourself, that have got multiple channels. It's like you've got skin in the game, so I actually really respect your opinion. I know I was going to wind this up, but let me just finish. So I had a couple of, like, I guess you could say, internet trolls recently on a few of my videos, just basically saying, you suck, what you're doing sucks, your artwork sucks, your videos suck, that kind of thing. And don't get me wrong, I don't think I'm worthy of, millions of dollars in my bank account off the back of my artwork. I don't think I'm worth millions of views on my YouTube video. I'm not deluded. But I don't think it's necessarily wrong for me to sort of think that I deserve perhaps a little bit more than sort of sub 1,000 subscribers, or a typical 200 views on a video. At least 2,000 views on a video, then I'd feel like, okay, I feel like I'm on par with perhaps other people I'm looking at that I feel are of a sort of similar standard and stuff. But my point with these people is they didn't have skin in the game. They hadn't. So I just noticed another comment come up. I'll get to that in a sec. They hadn't got a YouTube channel of their own. They hadn't created any artwork of their own. It's pretty obvious that these people were like, 15-year-old kids that had had never really done anything with their lives, and they're trying to sort of lecture other people about how to do it because they watch some guru video about how to be successful or something. And those things really actually piss me off. Not as in I take it personally and I sort of cry into my pillow at night because an internet troll tried to insult me, but just because it's just annoying that you have people in the world that don't really know what they're talking about, but they think they do, but they don't have don't have skin in the game. They've never tried it themselves. They don't know what it's like to create a YouTube channel and then another channel, and then 4 channels later, they're still figuring out how to get those million subscribers. And that doesn't mean that they're insufficient. It just means that the game of YouTube or social media in general is tough, very, very tough, and yeah, it's hard to take anyone seriously who hasn't actually tried it themselves. And anyone who's tried it and failed, even if they failed big time, even if they put out, even if they've done even worse than me, which I know is probably quite hard to believe, but even if someone's put out 5,000 videos and they've got 0 subscribers, the amount of respect I'd have for someone like that that's gone and tried it anyway, and I would still listen to someone's advice like that. Okay, Reaper Bear said, "Hey man, just read your comment on my comment." You might have to remind me what the comment was. I wrote it like an hour ago. I can't even remember. But I appreciate the comment, whatever it was. Either way, and I'm sure, hopefully, I gave a just response. Because this is the thing. It's so weird to have created so many videos to the point where just nothing was happening for ages. It was that one video that it was the should I quit video that just sort of like went semi-viral, I suppose. I went out of my 200 view bucket up into the sort of the 5-figure views, and suddenly I got some feedback, and it was weird because normally you see a 10,000 view video, and it might have 100 comments, responses. And I think at this juncture, that one's up to, I think, 700 and something replies, which is a lot of people to the time to respond to that particular video. And I'm so grateful for it, honestly. Because it's like finally I can kind of get a gist of how things are going. Am I wasting my time? Can anyone relate to this whole issue of trying and failing? Because the whole point of everything that I want to put out in the future and have put out thus far is basically to say that, contrary to what everyone will tell you, things are difficult, and be prepared. And it's not in order to make people quit or feel discouraged. It's just to educate and to help people not feel so isolated if they're also trying and struggling. And Reaper Bear, I'm completing 2 years of study in art business. I completely understand your observations. Oh, that's interesting. So is that a university course, or is that like an online course, or is that just your own personal endeavour? Because art business, that is something which everyone always says, if you go to art school, that is the thing that they never teach you. And they should, obviously, because that is the most important thing. I think I've said before, like, when it comes to art, you can draw all day long, you can create amazing artwork all day long. If no one ever gets to see it, what's the point? And in the modern age, people aren't going to get to see it unless you're on social media. And I think there are, as well, within social media, some platforms that are better than others to sort of market yourself on. Okay, so you've studied on your own. You've listened to 500 artists. Wow. I mean, you must have some insights at this point, because I can imagine everyone says something slightly different, but at the same time, having listened to a lot of artists art talk myself, there's also a lot of overlap, and I find that the overlap interesting because, like I was saying earlier, it's one of these things where when you have so many people all talking about the same topic in the same way, you kind of think, right, okay, I can trust this now. Me being a skeptical kind of person, I don't like to believe people's opinions just on face value, but if the same people are saying the same thing over and over or in slightly different ways, it's you can kind of think, right, okay, there's something here if that everyone's agreeing on the same sort of principles and stuff. So, but yeah, I think it would be quite a good idea for me to delve in to see what other people are saying about the idea of art business as well. I've already done it, and like I say, it's a bit of a mixed bag, and I think as well it depends. It's like with everything in life. It's like all advice that you'll ever see on YouTube or that people will ever give in real life. It's a weird thing because it depends. It depends on the type of advice, and it depends where you are in your own life and in your own potentially like an artistic journey. So if you're beginning, if you're 18 years old and you've just finished some basic art school and you've been self-taught, you're practicing, you're trying to get good at your craft, the advice that you'll find useful probably isn't the sort of advice that I would give. You're going to have to listen to not necessarily bad advice, but the sort of the starter advice, the basic stuff that we all have to go through. Like you're going to need to at least try out creating your own website, setting up your own social media accounts, your own profiles, posting and being consistent, and all that good you're doing in order to try and promote yourself. I feel like I'm more the sort of guy that you would come to after you've done all of that, realize that shit ain't working, and now you're thinking, now what? And I don't want the responsibility of being able to necessarily answer that because it's kind of complicated, and I don't want to pretend I know how to succeed in life, because anyone who does probably wouldn't be on the internet telling other people how to succeed in life. They'd probably just be living a good life, doing their thing. But at least I can relate to the whole plight that I think a lot of people feel when they go out, they try stuff, they try the social media thing, they try building the subscribers, they try building the followers, and then after a year they look at their bank balance and they think, well, wait a minute, I put in a lot of effort here. Why aren't the sales rolling in? Where are the customers? Where are the commissions? Where are the clients? Where are the employers looking to hire and stuff like that? So yeah, okay. So one thing I learned: a lot of people are pasting what ChatGPT says. Yeah, okay, that's true. The thing is with ChatGPT, it's actually like amazing how good it is. Like I think we're all quick to say, oh, the AI slop. Oh, I hate that AI slop. But we even over the course of like a year or so, we've kind of been gradually introduced to it, and it's sort of become a bit of a normal thing. But imagine we could just go back to like 2020, for example, and then see how people were using AI now, whether it was image generation for animation, video, or for written stuff. People would be blown away at just how good it is. But equally, I get it. It says a load of shit based on what it knows, and the trouble with ChatGPT is it only knows based on whatever's been posted on the internet, what it can basically scrape from the internet. So if back in 2020 or 2015 the general consensus was, create an Instagram account if you're an artist and then post your artwork on Instagram, and then people go away and do that, they're going to wonder why it's not working, because that in of itself just doesn't work anymore. But ChatGPT doesn't know that because the landscape changes too quickly. Large part is repeating the same formula: email lists, posting consistently, professional website. Okay, and then I found these 3 different channels that interview top artists, and then the truth began to emerge. I want to know what these 3 channels are. Of course, one of them's going to be mine, top artist Ben Crafter. That's a given. Seriously though, wonder what they are. But yes, certainly. Okay, let's just take me for example. I've got my artwork up on the screen right now. Not saying it's the best artwork ever. Compared to the standard now of like character art, concept art, it's pretty poor, really. I'll admit it. But when you just compare it to what the average person in the street can do, it's absolutely amazing. They could never do it. If you've got a non-artist to go away and create an original character, put them in an original pose, in an original style, they couldn't do it if you gave them 12 months. If you gave them 12 months, they couldn't do it. So I've got to give myself a little bit of credit there. I think even being able to just learn Photoshop, to a decent level, if all you do is spend all your days on Photoshop and you don't even learn art techniques and, anatomy, perspective, proportion, character design, it's just Photoshop. That's going to take you like 4 or 5 months probably to get to a good level at. Yeah, tangents. I like to go off on a tangent. But yeah, this is, as I say, it's one of those. This is supposed to just be a quick test stream. This wasn't really supposed to be anything that lasted longer than 5 minutes. But once I get talking, I find it difficult to stop. So the problem is, it's a mistake to believe that the quality of work translates into success. I think that is correct. As I see it, and there's another guy that basically pointed this out, who agreed with me. He's a children's book artist called Will Terry. He's been putting videos up for ages. He's not a huge as far as YouTube standards goes, but he's actually very smart, has some very good advice. I like listening to his videos. He's quite entrepreneurial as well. So I think that's what you want when you're thinking about art business stuff. So yeah, Will Terry, if you're not looked him up, I would advise his content. But he shares this opinion with me about the sort of the top one. I call them the 1%ers. So there are the people at the top of the food chain, that not like the 99%ers, the rest of us scumbags that have to just try. You get some people that are just naturally gifted, and I'm not saying that they don't work hard. They work hard, maybe harder than other people, but still, they're doing it right. They're succeeding, and their work is phenomenal. Now, those people, I don't think they really hard at it once they've reached that kind of level. I think they've they're good at what they do. They're nailing it. They're at that kind of juncture when you're really just killing it. You're undeniably phenomenal. People are just going to be like rushing out to sort of give you work or buy your artwork, that kind of stuff. Those people aren't going to find it a problem to be successful in the art world. Trouble is, when those people also have YouTube channels, those will tell you how it's easy. It's easy to get good at art, and they'll say, if I could do it, anyone could do it. You just need to work hard. And I'm not, like I say, I'm not denying that they don't work really hard. But like with music or take something like athletics, sports, the amount of people that play sports, like the people that get to the very top tiers, the professionals, the people that you'd see in the Olympics, there's not many people that can get to the Olympics. They are the 1%ers, and they're also the people who will get the sponsorship deals and the accolades and stuff. And the 99% of people, you'll just forget about them. or you'll know them for a few sort of seasons or years, and then they'll kind of fade off into obscurity. Doesn't mean they're not really good at what they do, like really good. And so then the 99 percenters, well, what do they do? Because, like you say, it's not then all about talent. They're nearly good enough, but they need something else. They need to market their artwork, and I think that is the crux. That's the problem that a lot of artists face. So anyway, I was going to say this Will Terry, he was basically saying the same sort of. He was sort of in his mind formulating it more like a sort of like a radial sphere, and you've got the epicenter where you have the people that are killing it, they're not having any problems. Then you've got the people sort of near the epicenter who are good and finding work and not really struggling, maybe the top 20% of artists, say. And then the further you go out, this kind of outwards of this sphere, the harder and harder you're going to find it to succeed. And then you're going to obviously need to work hard on the other aspects of art. Well, it's not really aspects of art, but aspects of running an art business, that is to say, social stuff like that, marketing. And I agree with that. So the art market is the most psychotic market in the world. Yes, I agree. Do you allow me to tell you the channels that interview top artists? Yeah, go for it. If you can post links, that's cool. I don't know if you can post links in chat. If not, you can email me from my website or something. You say that in the end, it all comes down to a living, makes money from the products, the artwork that they sell. They're selling dreams. They're selling the dream of being the artist, and that is so sexy. You wanna pay money for it. And I have actually taken an art course, and I did pay some money for an art course a couple of years ago. I want to do a video about it because shit, there was some scam going on there. There's some crazy shit. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'll be able to do what actually happened justice in a video, but I'll try. But yeah, there's so many people. Like even now, there's a couple of people that do dedicated art selling courses. I mean, I say a couple. I've seen probably about 6 over the last 3-4 years. So these are people who basically say, I can show you, I can tell you, take my course and I will show you how you can successfully sell your art. And they'll say, I made $1,000, £500,000, 2 million euros, whatever, doing my artwork, and now I'm here to tell you how you can do it too. And out of interest, just I'm curious and a bit sadistic, I went to some of their kind of like, what do you call them, like demo, intro, open day, open free sessions, where there's normally like a free offer whereby, come along to my proposal, and then, I'm going to give you some free advice. If you like it, you can buy the course. If not, I hope you get something free or whatever. So I thought, out of curiosity, I'll see what these people have to offer. And it was just sales pitch city. I mean, to the uninitiated, you're going to get sucked into that, and you're just going to hand over thousands of dollars, because they were good salespeople in a lot of these pitches that I was sort of invited to. And I think, again, going back to like something that I said earlier in the stream, like I'm someone who's a bit kind of low confidence, bit skeptical, bit low risk. And the advantage of being like that is I don't easily get suckered into things. Like I think I probably have been scammed a couple of times, or been near to being scammed a couple of times in life. But luckily nothing major. I think it's inevitable. If you're alive now, at some point in your life, you're definitely going to get scammed. In the same way, if you drive a car, at some point you're going to get a puncture. Doesn't happen often, but it will happen. But yeah, I can see how a lot of people just fall for this whole, buying the dream. And I think a lot of people kind of prey on that. So I just want to read some of your comments. So where do we get to? Even an athlete, he has to create the aura. The fastest man in the world, for example, baddest man in the world. Yeah, it's like, I don't know, Usain Bolt or someone like Conor McGregor in the UFC. Like, Conor McGregor isn't the best fighter in the world. I'm a little bit of an MMA fan. He's good. Obviously, won the title, but like he's not the best. He's not even the best in his weight class. But he's probably the most famous mixed martial artists. Certainly, so far as normies go. I mean, he's had sort of ships with companies like Reebok and the brands that regular people would know, I suppose. Um, but yeah, exactly. The branding was the key with that one. Um, if you're a master of investments and you know exactly where to invest and multiply your money millions of times, you'll stop investing to make a course and share your privileged information. Will you stop investing? Um, is that to me specifically, or sort of like a hypothetical thrown out there? Artists are suffering, all of them. The best of the best are scared. People are selling courses to multiply their income streams. Yeah, that's definitely true. Um, I mean, I've spoken with quite a lot of artists recently and had some quite sort of deep philosophical chats about the future and where things are going. I feel like the people, if you can get a couple of smart people in the room to discuss this kind of stuff, you all kind of come to the same conclusion that it's not going in a direction. I think we're definitely going to be struggling as time goes on. So I don't know what to do about that. I mean, I don't think there's an answer, but then at the same time, you can't worry about it so much where you're literally just rocking in the corner of your room, sucking on your thumb, waiting for the world to come to an end, because that doesn't solve anything. Um, Millionaires and doing really well and all that kind of stuff. And I think now everyone's just looking to find ways to exploit the internet. It's become like I've never known it so bad. I've been an internet geek for the last sort of 25 years, like using the internet back when most people thought that only, proper nerds and geeks were on the internet. Maybe I was a proper nerd and geek, I don't know. But obviously now it's not just for crazy, weird, autistic nerds. It's a place where literally everyone goes. But yeah, there's definitely a sort of culture shift where I feel like there's this subconscious drive within anyone to make more money. And I mean, I don't really know exactly what's then driving that. I mean, I can't really speak to. It's complicated, I think. Um, but yeah, I think because I mean, I've noticed people selling not necessarily courses, but exploiting their art for. It's probably been about 15 years or so. Like, I think at first, uh, you had people that started to use the internet, like artists that weren't really using the internet, that were now using the internet, and then they started offering more like Skillshare courses. Like, Skillshare was really big at a time. I don't know if it still is, probably still is. But when that started getting big, I mean, maybe that was about 6 or 7 years ago now. It was all about courses, more like tutorials, like how to be better at art. Um, and then I think people then started combining this idea of creating, artists creating, courses, but then mixing in the money side of it, because that's where the real money is. Like, you can teach someone how to draw and sell a course for that for like $20, and you'll get some hobbyists say, oh yeah, I'll spend $20, the same way I'd spend, or people would spend, say, $20 on an art book. That's sort of what you feel it's worth. But if you can promise someone the dream, the career of making $200,000 out off of the back of their art, then yeah, you can start charging $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 for a single course that might be the same in breadth and a tutorial, and people would pay that. So yeah, I don't think it's exactly a cultural shift. I think social media is actively harming artists. The topic of art isn't being promoted. Yeah, it's not. I isn't it weird how art was always the thing that we were supposed to have to escape from just the shit of life. Like no one wanted to go out to the factory and work, and therefore when they got home, they would do their hobby, whether it was, gardening or fishing or art and that kind of thing. But it seems like the hobby space has been sort of flipped into just like low value shit that is just like everywhere, and it's just easy to get, and it's now seen as therefore having no value. The message on social media is very straightforward. Want to make money? Boost your posts, all of them. Yeah, and I think it's going to get worse in the next couple of years. I think I said that on the last video that I posted. Give it 2 or 3 years, and like even my modest sort of 200 views on a video isn't going to be attainable. If you want 200 views, you're going to have to pay YouTube $20 or something, and then yeah, if you want 20,000 views, you're going to have to just cough up $1,000 or something. It's going to be a very much play to pay world that we're living in, I think, just as competition continues to rise. Not good if you're a starving artist and you're trying to succeed. Oh, definitely picked the wrong career, I think. But this is the weird thing, because I think if you are creatively inclined, you can't help it. If you grew up playing video games, watching cartoons, or reading comics, or whatever it was, just listening to cool music, watching cool films, reading cool books, if that captured you as a kid growing up, or even as an adult, and it's felt like the only thing in your entire life to have significance and meaning, and you were just desperate to be a part of it, and you're, like it's very hard to just say, oh well, let's just not be artists anymore. That ship has sailed. Like the drive to be a part of that whole thing is so strong that it's going to be very difficult for people to just give it up. And if your personality is that way inclined, if you're talking about personality and like the big 5 personality psychological model, if you're high in this trait openness, which is sort of like a creative spectrum of personality, I think you're going to find it quite difficult to not be open. It's kind of intrinsically part of who you are. Yeah, I'm probably getting a bit too deep in the weeds in this kind of stuff, but yeah, tricky times ahead, and I think it's worth just not beating around the bush and bullshitting and pretending life's fine. I feel like we're getting to the point where I'm beyond seeing the kind of the kind of presentation of potentially like art YouTubers where they're putting on the sort of smiles and the happy face, but I mean, I know what it's like, and I'm sort of thinking deep down, like the whole house is burning around you, and you're just sitting there saying everything's fine, and I know it's not. It just doesn't seem genuine. Let's just to say how it is. I'm not saying we have to like discourage people or panic, but yeah, it's just keep it real, I suppose. It's like AI. People thought they invented AI to do unwanted jobs. In practice, AI will do your job, and you'll be unemployed. Yeah, exactly. How the hell did this happen? I think we were all sold on this idea that robots would come along and do our laundry and make our lives easier. But the reality is that technologies get invented and the inventors then cash in, but no one if anything, it just makes the regular person's life harder. And the thing is, it's not even the inventors that cash in. The actual sort of computer scientists and programmers and people that worked on ChatGPT, for example, they're probably doing all right. They've probably got a nice house and can afford to raise a household and have a family and the rest of it. But it's the businesses and the corporations that own that technology, especially the owners and founders and the shareholders, that get super fucking rich. And it's not fair, basically. I mean, I don't want to get too political or whatever, but it doesn't seem right to me how 99% of the world's wealth seems to be funneled into like 1% of the population, or well, less than that. Like there's certain systems that seem to be in the world whereby you can just become a multi billionaire while everyone around you is struggling to sort of put food on the table. And I don't think that system should even exist, but I'm not really sure how you could actually control it. It's just part of the human condition, I guess. Money and influence, tend to seek it out and get it and can multiply it. And going back to this idea of investing your millions, I mean, this is like another weird game. Like, I'm too poor to be able to like really do. But then you take someone else that maybe is on the internet, like I am, like a big streamer, the sort of streamers where they could just stream to 50,000 people or 100,000 people, or, the sort of people who are probably making about, $10,000 to $20,000 every day that they stream. And they're just streamers. They're not even like, business executive types, money hungry, power hungry, narcissistic psychopaths that are obsessed with money. Yeah, but yeah, they've got the potential to, gain $1 million, invest that, and then make, let's just say 10% a year. They're making $100,000 a year back off of that. $100,000 a year, that's more than your average American, or in my case, Brit would earn. I mean, Brits notoriously, unfortunately, we don't earn anything. Like £30,000, which is about $50,000 or so. That's considered a good wage in this country. But anyone who's on that wage is only ever going to be able to sort of survive. They're never going to find enough cash to then invest and live off of the spoils of their investments. So yeah, it's just a weird system. I think it's weird as well. Like, I didn't really understand when I was a kid. I just kind of thought you go to school, then you get a job, you survive, you do what everyone else does, and then you die, and that's it. And then, the internet being what it is, you just have access to so much information. Then you start learning about how the world actually works. You start learning about money, finances, economics to some small degree. And then you're like, oh shit, so this is why people are so rich, and this is why I'm so poor. But the annoying thing is when you have the answers, you know how to be rich, but because you don't have the assets and the money up front, you have nothing to invest and you can't really do anything with it. Because that's the thing, if you have $10 million, if someone just dumps $10 million in your lap, you never have to work again. And then you could just give the $10 million back in like 10 years, and, because you could just live off the investment income and then reinvest that. But until you've got that lump sum, until you can stuck at the bottom of the food chain with everybody else. Right, ironically, you know what I did 15 years ago? I looked at the digital art market, which was the branch of art that attracted me. Yep, same here. And I thought, this market is over. Okay, so you were an early adopter to the idea that it's failing. I mean, I thought that because I noticed that there were hundreds of incredible artists, so I entered the fine art market. I'm like, okay, fine art instead. Spent 10 years learning to paint with oil, gouache, charcoal. Probably not a bad idea. Um, that sounds like a really wise decision. Because now we find ourselves up against AI, and if you're a digital artist, yeah, you can't compete. You really can't. Like I say, you've got the one percenters. They're okay. They've got their contacts and they're a phenomenal skill, and they can still outcompete. But seriously, can a regular person produce as much quality content? An AI can just pump out like 100 amazing images in an afternoon, and even if they've got like six fingers and other weird little art, even if you have zero talent, but um, certainly if the goal is to paint, uh, like a beautiful painting of a horse, for example, and there are 50% of competitors out there that are just definitely better than you at painting horses, you might need to adapt your approach. It might be time to think about something else. um, not don't want to necessarily completely give up art, because I think there's always ways around things to adapt as long as you're smart. Um, I think there's a lot of people that are just dumb, and they do the same thing, and they get to a point where they don't understand why they're failing, and they don't understand what's on the horizon, or they wouldn't know how to adapt. Um, so it's finding a way to do something a little bit different, and then yeah, it just comes down to marketing. But certainly, if you're in that top sort of 50%, you know, it's kind of subjective, what the top percentage is. I think if people are just honest with themselves, they can just sort of have a quick look around to see what other people are producing, good and bad, and sort of rank themselves roughly where they would be. So just so far as technical quality goes, within their sort of domain within their sort of niche. Yeah, I think if you're in that top 50%, you obviously got a better chance to sort of try and eke something out and sustain something. And if you do, then go on to adapt what you're doing as well. Um, it might not be the end of the world. Uh, but like I say, I don't want to be one of these people that promises the dream. I don't want to be, like these talking about these people that sell courses. I actually had the idea that if I could find a way to gain a lot of success with my artwork in some way, then I would sell my own course. But luckily, I've got enough integrity just such that I needed to make sure I was definitely doing it, and that I had an answer that was kind of repeatable, so that other people could sort of follow in my footsteps and do it. I mean, the journey for me to go from where I am now to that is still a long way in the future. I'm still trying to figure out how to get over 1,000 bloody YouTube subscribers. But it's doing something like that isn't the problem. You can follow the trends, you can follow the formulas, and you can do okay. But that's not really the goal. That shouldn't really be the goal. The goal should be doing it in a way that aligns with your own kind of ideals and ideas of how you think things should be, I think. Um, so yeah, I'm not going to give any advice on exactly what people should do. I think it's probably better for me to just be the guy that kind of understands the problem and says, yeah, you're not wrong in feeling concerned. I think that's the natural response. And then You know, I think the idea would then be to find, well, you need to find other YouTubers other than me that are going to be the ones that inspire you, that are going to do the motivating part. You know, I'm not great. I'm not so good at the pep talk part. I think there are people that can do that way better than me, and I think that everyone that just, you know, watches videos on YouTube, you know, you need to find a selection of people that can kind of cater for different things. You've got some people that are going to teach you art techniques, other people that are going to inspire you to just get off your ass and draw, other people that are just going to give you the reality check and console in the fact that times are tough. And I think you know, that's the role that I'd prefer to inhabit. I think it's funny as well, like whenever someone's doing like a video or a talk, you always have to finish it on a positive. It's always like, here's the doom and gloom, and now I'm going to tell you the solution. But really, I think that there isn't one. uh, doesn't well, I don't know what it is. Doesn't mean there isn't one. But I think the answer lies in having a deep think and finding ways to adapt and figure out some new approaches. And I think a lot of people are going to have that kind of inner conversation, or conversation with just other artists or other people like themselves as time goes on. I think given the so-called AI apocalypse that's coming, you know, apparently give it 2 years and the world's going to collapse. You know, I think there's going to be a lot of people that are, you know, that have had careers in whatever their career is. You know, programmers are now being superseded by AIs that can now code, and you know, customer support staff have all been superseded by AIs that can give better customer support. I think there's going to be a lot of people asking a lot of questions about, you know, given their current skill set and experience, what are they going to do moving forward? I think a lot of people are going to need to find ways to adapt. But you know, you can't just get to a point where literally within the space of 2 or 3 years you put everyone out of a job, because then just society collapses, or you know, we end up you know, finding Elon Musk and Sam Altman and, you know, these tech billionaires, and just, you know, putting their heads on spikes and reverting back to some kind of weird tribalistic society where we actually have a chance to survive and thrive in the world, even if it's kind of on a weird backwards trajectory. Anyway, yeah, it's getting late. And on that note, I think I'm going to call it a day. Like I say, this was supposed to just be a test stream, and hopefully I'll have something a bit more positive, or a bit more structured to say next time. So yeah, thanks for joining me. Had a couple of viewers. That was good. Appreciate it. Hope to see you in a future video or stream. And until then, have a good one. Take care, and I will see you later.